When I was in second grade, the best part of school for me was when recess began. Because during classroom time, I felt very anxious and had a lot of anxiety every time my teacher passed out a worksheet, because when I looked at the worksheet, I could not get it. I looked around my classroom and my friends, and they seemed to all get it, and I did not get it. I looked at the piece of paper and I tried, and I just couldn't do it. And Mrs. White's, my teacher at the time, she said to everyone that if you can't finish your work on time, then you're going to have to spend your recess time finishing it. And I was very accustomed to spending my recess time in her class. And she noticed that, and she talked to my parents about it, and she suggested that I should get tested for a learning disability. My parents agreed, so I got tested for a learning disability, and I found out that I had dyslexia. My whole life changed for the better, because after second grade I was put into a more hands-on classroom approach, and I felt way more confident, and I got the lessons in that class, and I could raise my hand and ask questions about whatever topic that we were learning that day. So today I would like to inform you about what dyslexia is. Did you know 7% of people worldwide are diagnosed with dyslexia, not regarding race or age? Not only that, but 20% of people who have symptoms of dyslexia but are not severe enough to get diagnosed are 20% of people, according to the Cleveland Clinic website. Today, I will be talking about dyslexia in my informative speech. First, I will talk about a brief background of dyslexia. Next, I will talk about how dyslexia affects the brain and show you some visuals. Lastly, I will talk about how you can live with dyslexia. The history of dyslexia is quite interesting. In 1877, a man named Adolf Kussmann, a German professor of medicine, in 1877, the professor named this illness word blindness. He thought word blindness was the defect of vision. Later, Kussmann coined dyslexia and edited the statement was previous and to the statement that how dyslexia is into modern day society. According to the National Library of Medicine website, countless research and data has been collected for dyslexia through 1877 to 1962. One example is Kussmann interviewed and observed a boy aged 10. He was very bright, but he had trouble reading. He couldn't read yet. His father, a medical professor, also said, I think it's something to do with a visual defect. Kussmann later said, no, it's not anything to do with visual defect, but it has something to do to the defect of memorizing words. Now that I've given you a brief overview of dyslexia's history, let's explain how dyslexia affects the brain. The neurobiology of dyslexia is quite interesting. According to the article named Dyslexia, dyslexia is another word for a learning disorder with impairments in reading, writing, fluent word recognition, poor decoding, poor spelling abilities. Some examples of dyslexia is you get confused with your B's, P's, D's, and Q's while spelling. Now let me go over the neurobiology of dyslexia with a visual. Ta-da! The bronchus area is for pronunciation. The petrotemporal is for word analysis, and the occipital-temporal is for word form. Now, neurotypical readers use all three of these areas to read, while dyslexia readers use bronchus and quantitotemporal to read, mostly. Now that I have told you what dyslexia mostly affects, I will now tell you how people/children live with dyslexia. You cannot get rid of dyslexia, but you could always improve it. Children with dyslexia may work with a specialist to learn more reading skills. Slowing down a lesson gives children with dyslexia more time to understand the concept of the topic that they're learning today. Working with children's schools to ensure that they have the best education that they can deserve, and educational plan. There are also special schools dedicated for students who have dyslexia. According to the Cleveland Clinic website, the most important thing you could do for your child is to read with them. Mostly, you could read with them during the day, during the night, but average you should read with them for 30 in an hour. You could also specialize an education plan called an IEP. Technology could also help greatly with dyslexia. There is software where you could just talk into your computer or your phone and it will write exactly what you are saying. You could use other websites like Google to help you spell a word or the meaning of that word. Today I have talked about something very important, but also shedding light on dyslexia and the struggles with dyslexia, not with adults, but also with children. I also talked about how dyslexia affects the brain and not vision. Lastly, how dyslexia can never go away, but you could always improve it. I hope that my informative speech helped you a little bit understand more about how dyslexia is with people and how a lot of people have dyslexia. Thank you.